Joe, so I've been looking up famous dogs.
This show's going to the dogs.
It's going to the dogs. Okay, so famous dogs. I didn't know this, but there was a sled dog who ran diphtheria medication, life-saving diphtheria medication to this remote village out in the Arctic.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know there's this dog that I heard of who's huge and red.
Clifford?
Yes. You've heard of him too.
You've got Clifford, Snoopy, Pluto, Goofy, Scooby-Doo. Anyway, the reason that we're going through this is because the first question that we're going to answer today is from a woman who wants to start a sanctuary that saves senior dogs and gives senior dogs their best life. I heard that dream and I'm like, this is why we do what we do. I want people to get good at money so that they can go into the world and do stuff like that.
Whatever they want. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. With that, welcome to the Afford Anything podcast, the show that knows you can afford anything, but not everything. And the show that's here to help you with your money so that you can do what it is that you really dream of doing, not what it is that you have to do in order to pay the bills. This show covers 5 pillars: financial psychology, increasing your income, investing, real estate, and entrepreneurship. It's Double I Fire. And every other episode-ish, I answer questions from you. I do so with my buddy, the former financial planner, Joe Salsihai. What's up, Joe?
You know, I was thinking, Paula, if I got a dog, I don't have a dog. I have, of course, Cooper the cat who rules this house. But if I had a dog, I think I would name it 5K so I could brag to everybody that I walked 5K this morning.
Oh. And with that, we turn to our first question, which comes from Anonymous.
Hi, Paula and Joe. This is Anonymous, mainly because I'd love for you two to give me a name. First, I want to thank you both for the podcast and the Q&A episodes. I've learned so much from you. And honestly, almost everything I know about money and personal finance comes from the two of you. My husband and I moved to the U.S. 3.5 years ago to make our dream come true, opening a sanctuary for senior dogs and cats so that in their remaining time on this planet, they'll have the best days they've ever had. Our plan is to buy land and build a few Airbnbs on it so the sanctuary can be self-sustaining. A little background before I ask my question. My husband and I are 39 years old. In about 2 months, we'll finally pay off $100,000 of debt that we've carried for the past 5 years. Because of this debt, we don't have retirement accounts beyond our work-sponsored ones, with almost no money there. Once the debt is gone, here's our plan. Build an emergency fund, open and max out both of our Roth IRAs, max out the existing HSA, and open a solo 401k for my husband. Right now, we're saving about $3,500 each month. Now for my question, we currently own 2 properties. One is a rental, and the other is our primary residence, which will become a rental property once we'll move out. We have lived in the rental property for 2 years so we can avoid paying capital gains taxes. We have about $100,000 in equity in it. Right now, it loses about $200 a month, which we can afford. There's a possibility we'll rent to voucher tenants in the future, which would flip it into positive cash flow of about $600 a month. I ran the numbers on the cap rate, and if I calculated correctly, it comes out to about 9% with appreciation included. Here are the options we're debating. 1. Sell the house and take advantage of the capital gains exclusion. We'd use that money for the down payment and startup costs for the sanctuary. Joe always says, start with the end in mind, and the sanctuary is our end. On the other hand, I believe the property could be lucrative long-term if we keep it. And since we plan to buy more rentals in the future, selling this one might not make sense. 2, refinance the property. We currently have a very high interest rate of 10%, and refinancing would let us pull out about $30,000 to use as our starting sanctuary fund. It would also lower our monthly payments and improve our equity position. If we refinance, it will also give us around $100 in cash flow, depending on the interest rate. 3, sell the property and use the proceeds both as a down payment for 2 cheaper rental properties and to max out both Roth IRAs and the HSA for that year. 4, sell and split the proceeds 50-50. Use half to buy an established cash flowing business that generates income from day one, and the other half as a down payment or startup fund for the sanctuary. We won't have an emergency fund yet, so I'm a little hesitant about going the route of buying a business or picking up another rental property right away, even though those options could generate income sooner. The challenge is, if we don't sell, I'm not sure how quickly we can save enough to pursue our dream. And we're not getting any younger. Our plan is to buy the land and start the sanctuary within 3 to 5 years. One more note. I'm a real estate sales agent, so if we sell, we won't need to pay 2 agents' commissions. So what do you think we should do?
Anonymous, thank you for the question. I love the dream. And let's start by giving you a name. Joe and I, before we started recording, had a debate as to whether we should give you the name of a dog, a famous dog in history, or the name of a human.
And believe it or not, we went with human.
Yes.
I know you'll find that shocking.
Well, there's some great dogs. Hachiko, the Akita, who would go to the train station in Japan to wait for their deceased owner, right? I mean, beautiful names of famous dogs in history. Laika, who is still floating somewhere in space, first dog in space.
We decided instead, though, to not send you to space by yourself. We decided to make you a star, somebody who helps rescue a bunch of dogs and also help with behavior. And
Yes.
she is a woman who is a TV star and a dog trainer. Of course, I'm talking about Victoria Stilwell, who's maybe one of the foremost pet behavior experts and a woman who set up a foundation to help people rescue dogs.
In honor of her, we will name you Victoria. All right. So what should we do with this property? A couple of things struck me right away. And there are two separate conversations to have. One is about how to fund this dream. And then the other is about how to fund your old age. Because the two big things at a personal level that we need to take care of are your emergency fund and your retirement planning. And then at the professional level, there is how do we fund this dream sanctuary that you have. So I want to tackle both of those separately because I fear that the two may get conflated. And let's begin with talking about this dog sanctuary because a few things strike me right away. One is that you don't necessarily need to self-fund the entire project. There may be some amount of money that you yourself might need to put in, but looking to endowments and philanthropic organizations for grants, looking to individual donors, small donor donations. There's a lot of assistance out there for people who want to start nonprofits. And it's certainly an enormous workload. We had the founder of Charity Water on our podcast several years ago, and he talked about all of the challenges that he faced when he was starting Charity Water, and he was reminiscing on the days when they would high five each other over $10,000 donations, because in the beginning, something like that is a very, very big deal. It's a huge amount of money when you're just getting started. And now he looks back on that fondly now that he's running an organization that has a budget in the millions. But there's a lot of, for how difficult it is, there's certainly a lot of resources, training, help for people who want to learn how to organize something, tell a good story, raise the funds. So I don't want you to go into this thinking that most of that money is going to have to come from you.
I'm glad you began there because frankly, I hadn't considered any of that.
Oh.
I hadn't considered the nonprofit nature at all. I just considered the timeline, which
that is what you are best known for. Which
Victoria already alluded to, that you begin with the end in mind. And I also thought about expertise and not having expertise. And I think from my perspective, Paula, you can use a process of elimination here as much as what do you want to do can a little bit be replaced. We can make the decision easier by making it a realistic decision. So let me start with the one that I would not do. Can we start there?
Yeah.
I would begin with, I would not begin a separate business. I would not begin a different business. That could be a huge opportunity. It could be fantastic. You ostensibly have, because you didn't talk about this at all, I'm assuming you have none of the skills around the business that you would purchase. You would purchase a stream of income and you may understand, I'm just going to go with the basic E-Myth, the basic E-Myth story. You may understand how to make cakes, but that doesn't mean that you understand making a business around making cakes.
Well, Joe, when you talk about purchasing a stream of income, are you talking about her plan to have Airbnbs set up on the property, or are you talking about the underlying the service that they would be providing for dogs.
No, when she said option 3, we would start another business, which would create cash flow, which would help us work through that. I would not do that. Number one, for that reason. Also, whether it's a startup or you purchase a business, there's all kinds of stuff that happens. You know, you and I know a lot of people who renovate houses, and every person who renovates houses will tell you the second you open up a wall, there's surprises that you did not consider. And I think it's the same when you begin a new business. There's all kinds of surprises. And to get the business running the way that you want it to run is going to take lots of time and effort. There's no way around the time and effort, unless you have somebody who will work for next to nothing, who you can trust to do the time and effort thing. And I don't know that I would even do that. So I don't like the idea of owning a separate business. I don't like it for another reason, which is, even though it's a nonprofit, going out and finding funds, finding donors, finding money, doing the mission, doing all that work, and having this business on the side.
Ooh, yikes. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If you begin this nonprofit, this is going to be a more than full-time job. This will be 2 full-time jobs, beginning this nonprofit. I would also encourage you to talk to people who have either started or who have run at the executive level some type of an organization that is based around serving animals or helping animals. There are classic brick and mortar rescues, but there are also a variety of nonprofits that work with some niche element related to the interests of cats and dogs. And so, to give you 2 examples, there's an organization in the state of Georgia that specifically fosters primarily dogs, but pets, fosters dogs that are owned by survivors of domestic violence. And so if someone is going to a domestic violence shelter and they have an animal with them, they can't bring the animal into a shelter. So there's a particular nonprofit that specifically fosters pets that come from those situations. So it's a very specific focus. Another example, there's an organization in North Georgia that it's called Freedom for Fido, and they build fences in low-income houses. They build free fences for low-income housing so that the dogs that are on chains can then run free in the yard, right? Freedom for Fido. It was inspired, that's in North Georgia, and it was inspired by a different organization called Fences for Fido in Oregon. And so I think if you talk to, the reason I'm going through all of these examples is there are all sorts of different scales and scopes and operations of animal rescue organizations. First piece of homework that I would like you to fulfill is talk to 10 people from 10 different organizations who are either founders, co-creators, or who run it at the executive level. And just talk to if you were a founder or if you were part of the founding team, what are some of the things that you know now that you would have wanted to know then? If you weren't a founder, if this is a pre-existing organization and you got brought in at the exec level, all right, what are some of the challenges that you have faced in scaling this, in growing this, in keeping the revenues consistent every year? And if you came from a private sector background, what are some of the differences that you see in running this nonprofit organization at the executive level versus running a for-profit company if you did that in the past, right? Like, I want you to have 10 conversations with 10 different people who are all involved in this world, but in different
capacities.
Yeah. In different capacities.
I think at the very least what that will do will show you how much you don't want to own a different business. Because it's going to show you how much time and energy this is going to take. And running 2 of those, I don't think you can do both successfully. And if your goal is to have more money, I think even in this case, you'll have less money because these are 2 pursuits that demand time and attention. Neither of these is a passive investment, Paula. This is not a passive thing. So I don't think you could do that. The second thing then obviously is I wouldn't take your money and pour it into additional real estate right now. I like the idea of doing it later, but you need money, you said yourself, to begin this project. So anything that gets rid of liquidity, I would also knock out. So options 3 and 4, I really don't like, which means it really, to me, comes down to option 1 and option 2. Option 1, to remind people, was selling the property and then using that as your seed money. Option number 2, refinance the property, create cash flow. Maybe you can pull some money out. Of those 2 options, I like option 1 the best.
Interesting. I agree. I eliminate number 3 and 4, and that leaves 1 and 2. Between 1 and 2, I like option 2 the best.
Yeah, I think it's got to be 1 or 2. The reason I like option 1 the best is because it's the more conservative option, because of the fact that you now have a bigger sum of money. Whenever I have coached people on purchasing businesses, on starting businesses. In fact, I was talking to a guy today about an hour and a half ago about this and about how he started his business in his 20s. And it was amazing, Paula. He started this business with $1 million loan and absolutely no idea what the hell he was doing. Imagine starting being $1 million in debt and having zero idea what you were doing. Now, he very luckily was able to make that work. But the fact that he had $1 million to work with really helped him. He goes, because all my projections were wildly wrong, which every entrepreneur that listens to the show will tell you. Every projection that you have is going to be wrong. It's going to be so incredibly wrong. It doesn't mean you shouldn't have them, because I think that, almost like financial planning is called financial planning, not financial plan. Stop. You want to plan and then tweak and plan and tweak and plan and tweak. So you do want to have projections. But I think this additional cash cushion of having the money available, I think is where I would start. Here's the thing about option 2. This is not as far away from option 2 as I thought initially, because my first thought, Paula, was option 2 was the way to go. But then I thought, what's the real win here? The real win with real estate, and I could hear in your question how much you're like, this could be a great property and it could make us a lot of money. So why would I sell it if it could end up being this great thing? You know what's cool? You, even based on your numbers that you shared in your question, I believe that unlike this idea of a new business that you would go into that you don't know anything about, you clearly, if you're looking at things like cap rate and you're looking at cash flow on your properties, you clearly have an understanding of what you're doing, and you've proven it because you already own a property. I believe that knowledge is far more important to you succeeding than keeping this property. I don't think it has to be this property. I think the fact that you know how to evaluate properties is the win. So if you let this property go to get the goal and make sure that you're able to lock it in by having adequate funding, and then you re-enter the market to purchase a property, I believe that education that you've given yourself by having been in real estate already is going to help you succeed in the future. So that's why for me, I thought option 1 was better than option 2.
Interesting. Okay. Well, so the reason that I like option 2 is because, as you mentioned, well, you said something that confused me a little bit. You said cap rate 9%, but you said that includes appreciation. So I'm assuming that what you mean is cap rate plus appreciation equals unleveraged total return of 9%.
That's funny. I assume that too.
Yeah. That's a great unleveraged total return. But I mean, that's a fantastic one. And if this is a property that has a solid risk, solid risk profile, which it sounds like it is, a 9% total return is, I mean, I don't think you could realistically hope for a property that produces better than that. And so the thing that struck me when you talked about having Airbnbs on the same parcel of property as this senior dog rescue, the first thought that entered my mind is, why do they have to be co-located? If the idea is that property is a source of funding for this organization, well, that property could be anywhere. It's not geographically constrained. And there's no reason that the Airbnbs necessarily have to be co-located in the same place where the dog rescue exists.
It's funny how when you step back for a second, like that, that they don't have to be in the same place.
Right.
Was right in front of them all the entire time.
Right. And I think often when we talk about property or land, because real estate is not fungible, we tend to anchor to a specific location. But if real estate is being used as a source of income, what matters is the income, and that income is completely fungible.
Different state, different city, different country.
Yeah.
Irrelevant.
Right, exactly. So you could have Airbnbs or any other income producing properties. You could have them in whatever location produces the best risk adjusted returns. And then that stream of income can help fund the dream organization that you want to start, the dog rescue that you want to start. And given that, and given that you already own a property that's producing 9% returns, I mean, I would hang on to that 9%. There's one other thing that I want you to do as well. I talked about your homework is to talk to 10 people who run rescues in various capacities, of various sizes and in various capacities. The other thing that I want you to do is go to the IRS website and look up the 990 form of a huge list of rescues that operate in the same way as the model that you are trying to achieve. So look up the IRS 990 form of rescues where you've got land that are retirement homes for senior dogs, because those documents, which are free and available to the public, will give you a lot of insight into the financials of these groups. And again, that's the beautiful thing about doing due diligence when you're thinking about starting a nonprofit, or even as a donor, when you're thinking about donating to a nonprofit. The beauty is that their tax returns are public record. That's not something that you get in any other situation. At the end of 2025, I needed to distribute some charitable donation money prior to the end of the year. And Freedom for Fido is one of the groups that I decided to donate to. And so one of the first things that I did was I looked up their 990 form. And then I called the founder and director, Jackie, and I had a conversation with her on the phone. And I told her, I was like, hey, I looked up your 990. And based on that, I have a couple of questions. And then we had a whole conversation. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. I was like, hey, I don't know how to say this without being creepy, but I've looked at your tax returns,
And I'm not calling from the IRS.
Yeah.
Because that would freak me out. If you called me and said you looked at my tax return, I'd be like, well, it was close. I tried.
But she had that same reaction. She laughed. And then we had a whole conversation about it. Because the return showed me what their revenue is, how much money they've spent on fundraising, how much the executives earn, which for that particular organization, it's all volunteer. Nobody, not even the director, earns a dime. But of course, that's because they're a smaller organization. So yeah, I mean, you see all of that reflected in the forums. That the group in Georgia that fosters pets who come from domestic violence situations, the executive, I can tell you, makes between $50,000 to $60,000 a year full time. How do I know that? I read it on the tax return. This is all of the due diligence that I was doing at the end of 2025, which is why I can rattle this off the top of my head.
You shouldn't have said that. You should have just rattled it off. Just like, well, I follow all of them. So as an example.
I'm just reading 990 forums on a Friday night.
Good glass of Chardonnay.
But I mean, when I saw because you can see looking back how much that particular group has grown over the years. And I know as a business owner how much work it takes to have consistent year-over-year growth. And so when I saw how they've grown, and then I saw that the director really doesn't make very much, I was like, ooh, wow. Like, that tells me a lot. You know, that tells me a lot about the talent on the team.
It is just a skill, I think, that investors and givers should learn, which is if you're investing in individual companies, which of course, for the vast majority of people, you and I don't recommend, but if you're going to, learn to read those 10Ks, learn to read how the company makes money, how much debt they have, how well financed the company is, who else is invested in the company, the backgrounds of the people running it. Like, get to know the heartbeat. And I think it's the same if you're going to do what you did and put money with a charity,
right?
With any 501c3 organization. Like, find out how they're run, so you know what's going on with your cash.
Yeah. I have a friend, she's a chief medical officer at a nonprofit veterinary facility. And we were literally sitting at a bar, and I went online and I pulled up their balance sheet and I showed it to her, and she had never seen a balance sheet before. So she was like, wait a minute, why are those two numbers exactly the same? Which was really cool. I got to explain to her, like, well, oh no, so these are designed to be the same, right? That's why it's called a balance sheet. And by the end of that conversation, she had a much better understanding of the organization that she herself works for. So you can learn a lot about animal rescue groups, first by looking up the numbers, and then by contacting the people who run these groups and having a conversation with them based on the homework that you've already done. Like when I called Jackie from Freedom for Fido, I think it was a more productive conversation because of the fact that I wasn't coming in blind. I had already done my homework in advance of the call. And so when I came to the call, I could say, hey, I noticed this. I was wondering why. I noticed that. I was wondering why. You know, like, here's a picture, a mental map that I have been able to piece together based on all of the online research that I've done. But here are the missing jigsaw pieces. Can you help me fill those in? Or can you identify any gaps in the mental map that I have already mapped out in my head?
I'm glad you said that. But also from another point of view, which is that I don't want to just get the canned pitch for the 501c3. I want to be able to ask those pointed questions. Because then I avoid the canned approach, and then we get something, we can have a much more important discussion about the piece of whatever their mission is that's important to me, where my intention intersects with what they do. All that said, if we get back to the money, I get where you're coming from, Paula. I still like my way better.
All right. So Joe's vote is option 1. My vote is option 2. Do we want
the good news is we got rid of 3 and 4.
Yeah, we both agree. Get rid of 3 and 4. Option 3 and 4. Do we want to address emergency fund / retirement planning?
Yeah, let's do it.
So first of all, Victoria, I am very excited about the fact that by the time this airs, you will most likely have that $100,000 paid off, that $100,000 debt paid off. So congratulations, huge congratulations on that. Second, I am wanting you to prioritize retirement savings because you're 39 years old. You and your husband are both 39. If you get aggressive about retirement savings now, you've got enough time to be okay. And it sounds like you're totally on board with that plan. You talked about maxing out both Roth IRAs. You talked about opening a solo 401k for your husband. You talked about maxing out the HSA, which of course can also be a supplemental retirement fund. But I absolutely think, and this is part of the reason that I led with encouraging you to see if you can pull outside funding rather than self-sourced funding for this animal rescue, is I really want the emphasis of your personal financial planning to be in retirement savings once you have an emergency fund.
Well, clearly, I think there needs to be this wall that a lot of entrepreneurs have trouble keeping between your personal investments and your personal financial situation and those of the business. So many entrepreneurs violate that consistently to the point that it makes it very difficult for a lot of entrepreneurs to save for retirement because, quote, the business just needs a little more, just needs a little more, just needs a little more, just needs a little more. And it becomes this furnace that's insatiable.
Right.
So being able to have the business work for you versus you work for the business is a skill, just like any other skill that people work on, a muscle they build as they're building their business.
I just realized, Joe, I'm reading back through a transcript of her question right now. She said senior dogs and cats. How did I missed that on the first time. How did I miss that? I love cats.
Because she's a cool cat.
Senior dogs and cats. I love that. I love this even more. And I have definitely seen some Instagram videos from people who run specifically retirement home for cats. I would 100% go on Instagram, find the people who run those, and offer them $100 to have a Zoom call with you. Like pay them for their time. Learn as much as you can from the people who have already done it.
Or heck, if you could go there and help out.
Yeah, be a volunteer
especially for some of these
there.
volunteer organizations. If you can spend a little bit of time volunteering, see it from the inside.
Well, Victoria, I hope that was helpful. I am so excited for this dream to come to fruition. I love this idea. I love this question. Please call us back and let us know which option you decide to go with. And I do think both option 1 and 2 are good. Our next call comes from Anonymous.
Hello, Paula and Joe. I'm Anonymous and would love to hear what name you pick. A quick shout out to Paula for the diligence, details, and commitment you have to your offerings, as these are top notch. I was able to make the concrete decision that I do not want to be a landlord in your first rental property, and I signed my niece up for your next raise, as I know she's in good hands with you. My question is regarding Roth conversions. My background: I have a very conservative target to retire of $3.3 million, but I like my job and my team, so I plan to use the extra time working for heavier Roth conversions, even if it wasn't the most tax efficient. I see tax efficient conversions as a way to keep the base until RMDs, as I would be converting mostly gains. I also like the idea of being done or very low, just as my house is done and mine. I recently started a side business from a passion hobby. I wanted to obtain my certifications and gain years of experience while working my W-2 job so that I would have more expertise for this encore career when I step away. The side business is intended to provide supplemental income, an area to have community, keep me mentally challenged, and an avenue to explore new technologies in this field. This is a service business that I can see offering clinics one day, but I'm not interested in scaling to the masses at this point. Due to some job changes, I may no longer be with my W-2 job mid-2026. I'm looking for a framework to work through Roth conversions. I've heard a lot about the discussions regarding conversion implications with taxes, health insurance, IRMA, and such. Please include all of this in the framework too. But I want to look at this from the flip side. What if I didn't have money to convert? What are those pitfalls? How can I determine the ideal amount of traditional money to leave? After what age would money left to convert not be important? My numbers: I'm single, 51, and healthy, so plan for Social Security at 70. I have $1.2 million in taxable, which includes my emergency. I have $1 million in traditional, $1 million in Roth, $60,000 in an HSA. I'm projected to net another $150,000 from salary and retention bonus. My side business generated a whopping $500. So this is very early stages here. My certification targeted in December of 2025. From a longtime afforder, I want to say thank you for the wisdom you and Joe share to answer our questions. Thank you for your classes. And thank you for your journalism style that is hard to capture into words. Insightful, probing, or in-depth only scratch the surface. We all get to benefit from your gift to bring clarity from complexities. Even at times, your interviewee gets this benefit. We appreciate you.
Anonymous, thank you for the question. And before we start to answer, you need a name.
She needs a name. You know, I love the way that we help people on this show, Paula. And by the way, thank you for all of the kind words.
Yes, absolutely.
was-
I'm honored. I'm very honored. So
it was
thank you.
very, very nice. I saw a movie that has gotten huge praise, absolutely huge praise, and I thought it sucked.
Is it the SpongeBob movie?
It's not. I think I'd love to see the SpongeBob movie.
I saw the SpongeBob movie.
And
it sucked.
Yeah. I saw Marty Supreme, which Timothy Chalamet, Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah, I've seen the ads for that.
And he plays table tennis. And she is an actor. Also, by the way, Kevin O'Leary in this movie from Shark Tank, who isn't an actor. I mean, he's a businessman and he plays a shark in this film. So the actors I really liked, and I thought they did a great job. I hated the script. I like empathetic characters. I like people that I want to be around. I didn't want to be around Timothy Chalamet's character. In fact, one of the reviews I read said it's a feel-good movie. There is no feel-good whatsoever in this movie except the last 3 minutes. The last 3 minutes of the movie is feel-good. The rest of it is a train wreck that I didn't want anything to do with. It's frenetic. It is so well done. It's just not something that I ever want to watch. But that said, the acting in this movie was amazing. Timothy Chalamet, fantastic. Gwyneth Paltrow, incredibly good. Incredibly good. So I think we call her Gwyneth.
Gwyneth. Beautiful. All right. Well, Gwyneth, the first question that I want to tackle, you said something that stood out, and it was, what if you don't have money available to convert? And I'm interpreting that to mean, what if you don't have money available to pay the tax bill associated with conversion?
So you're not able to convert anymore.
Right.
Like, what does that ugliness look like?
And what that means to me is it backs into a bigger question about cash flow planning. Because if you are no longer with your current employer as of mid-2026, then I think the first thing to address, even before we talk Roth conversions, is overall cash flow planning, particularly because you have a side project that you hope will grow. And I have no doubt that it will, but we can't bank on that money just yet. Given that it's made all of $500 so far, we can't bank on any of that just yet. And so the first thing that comes to my mind is, how do we manage your cash flow once you depart from this job in mid-2026? And in the scope of that cash flow planning, there should be a very, very specific amount that you set aside for paying the tax bill associated with the conversions. And I think that any conversion strategy that you have will have to stem from that first and foremost.
I love what Gwyneth said about the idea of just having it behind me. It might not be the most efficient thing, but the fact that I got the tax behind me, Paula, I've got that behind me. I don't have to worry about it ever again. That's why I'm focusing on this. I don't think that's a bad move, especially since, so many people want to optimize, and yet we all lack the same piece of significant information, which is we don't know what tax rates are going to be in the future. We have no idea. So playing that optimization game too much, I think, is more frustrating than just saying, listen, I want to pay the tax and never have to worry about it again. That is an awesome goal. But I look at what we call, Gwyneth, right now, your tax triangle. And the two pieces that we really want to make sure that we have, if we don't have the cash flow side that Paula, you addressed, is I want to have as much money in the Roth side as I have in the pre-tax side. And she has that. So she has this ability to flex whatever the situation might be at the time. She doesn't want to use all her Roth money all at once, but she could draw from both of these places and essentially live on half of what she was living on if she was in the pre-tax position. and actually even a little more because of the fact that the $1 million that's in after tax, meaning the $1 million that's sitting in Roth money, she's going to get to use 100% of that. She's not going to get to use 100% of the money that's sitting in the pre-tax. So she's already in such a good place, really. I think Gwyneth, you're in an awesome place because of the fact that you already have so much money sitting in the Roth position. Now you can worry about Irma. You can worry about healthcare subsidies. You can worry about all those things. And you asked the question, when does it no longer matter? These things, they're going to matter from the time that that you are dependent on this income stream until you're not, which means forever. It's going to always matter. So in this case, I think being able to do more, if you can do more, is great. But I frankly would not be upset if you began retirement with this 50-50 split that you're sitting with right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what strikes me, okay, so 1.2 in taxable, 1 million in traditional, and 1 million in Roth. Like, that is a perfectly balanced tax triangle.
It's beautiful.
That is an equilateral triangle right there. And Gwyneth, you mentioned that your conservative retirement target is 3.3 million. You have it. You have 3.26 million. Right? With one, you outlined 1.2 plus 1 plus 1 plus another 60,000. You're there. Like, you've reached your retirement target 19 years early. So your goal at this point is maintaining in nominal dollars.
And here's the thing, because she has that significant portion already in the taxable part, where she can get at that. Those are liquid funds. Even if she didn't have any income stream, which I think is what she's worried about, what if I don't have the income stream to be able to afford the tax later? Mm-hmm. I think she can pull from the after-tax money, Paula, to pay that tax. So I think if she wanted to do that, number one, what's making me pause and speak more slowly is I'm thinking about the fact that her income is going to go down significantly.
Right.
Most probably. So I think really putting together a robust strategy for those years where she set some money aside from the brokerage account to move money over to the Roth position from the pre-tax even more, would be diligent, much more diligent than worrying about it in 2026, in a year when she's going to have higher income streams.
Right. Because she'll be working for half of 2026.
Yeah,
she'll be with her W-2. I'd
be much more worried about 2027. She can look at what the tax bracket line is in 2026 and play with that number, but I think that's going to be a smaller number. I think the big hurrah is going to be in 2027, when her income is down even more, depending on how the side hustle / new encore career goes. So I'm thinking planning wise, this strategy would be focus this year on planning and next year on really rocking those Roth conversions.
So she asked about, Gwyneth, you asked about pitfalls of leaving too much money in traditional. I mean, the biggest thing is RMD, because having to take RMDs when you don't want to really sucks. The nature of RMDs means that you're a bit handcuffed when it comes to planning, because like the ideal amount that you would want to have is you want to be able to fill the lower tax brackets in retirement with money from traditional funds. Like, you want to be able to, the ideal unconverted amount is enough that you can fill those lower tax bracket buckets, but not so much that your RMDs push you into substantially higher brackets or push you into IRMA surcharges.
And I think if at all possible, and I would do some planning on this, don't just take my word for it. It may be a diligent strategy to stop putting money in pre-tax altogether beginning now. stop, because with the money that you're going to gain over the next 10 years, you're already sitting at a much higher number than you're at today. And so you're going to compound the problem. If there ends up being a problem, you're going to compound the problem by putting more money into pre-tax. Yeah, I'm really excited about where she is. I think to your point as well, Paula, about RMDs, because RMDs aren't going to start until into her 70s, many people will delay taking money from pre-tax accounts early. To control those RMDs, she's going to want to create a stream of income from the pre-tax money at the beginning of her retirement years. When she's eligible to take that money, I would be siphoning money off so that at the very least, they don't grow a lot more, so that she's not creating a problem that she can't control. So don't save the money in the pre-tax account until you have to take it out. Let's try to keep a lid on how large your pre-tax problem would be by using that money first, maybe using it to the top of the lowest tax bracket at the time, and then use your money from other positions after that.
I mean, the final thing I would say, Gwyneth, is that what I'm excited about with regard to this next chapter, you're 51, you plan on working till you're 70. You've got 19 years ahead of you to do something that is purpose-driven, mission-driven, that is, I think, reflective of your calling, that is a good fit with your lifestyle, that creates the impact that you want to create. So I'm incredibly excited for what these next 2 decades, what's going to unfold over these next 2 decades, because it's clear that you have a lot of passion around this new venture. And I love being able to see people do the things that they want to do and not the things that they have to do. I think that is a big purpose of this podcast and a big part of why we devote so much of our time to helping people get good with money. So thank you, Gwyneth, for the question, and best of luck with that next chapter. Our final question today comes from Soyman.
Hi, Paul and Joe. My trail name's Soyman, and I love listening to your thoughtful answers on Q&A episodes. And I have a bit of a fun situation for you, I think. The high level is that I'm planning on not working for an entire year in 2027 to go backpacking and attempt what's known as a calendar year triple crown. This is my dream to attempt, and probably fail, and I would do it regardless of any tax implications. But it does seem to me to be an incredible opportunity. By my math, I can get nearly $30,000 into Roth accounts at a negative tax rate. Here's my current numbers. I'm 25 and I'm making $70K gross in a high cost of living city, but I'm keeping my expenses under $2,000 a month. So I'm saving $38,000 a year by maxing out my traditional 401k and Roth IRA and putting $7,500 into a brokerage. I currently have $60K invested and no debt. So by the time I leave for my hike, I project $100K invested in total market index funds, with 60% being in 401k. Here's my 2027 plan. I want to earn exactly enough to max out a Roth IRA through side hustles, then convert 21K from traditional to Roth, and then max out an HSA. My state would not tax Roth conversions, and with the standard deduction and savers credit, I would have no tax liability. With the premium tax credit, I project actually receiving $3,000 for an effective tax rate of negative 10% on Roth contributions. I know Joe would ask, so I think that my Achilles heel is that I keep very little cash on hand. Besides a 2-month emergency fund, I'm just planning to build up a $3,000 hiking fund. My budget for the year would be $10,000, so to cover the difference, I would have to sell $7,000 from a brokerage of under $20,000. My logic here is that if the market goes up, any capital gains are at a 0% tax rate. And if the market goes down, my conversions are even more valuable. And I can tax loss harvest for even more Roth conversions at a 0% tax rate. So it seems to me to be a win-win. I know you guys talk about only having money in equities if it's for a longer term time horizon, but I want to have enough to buy farmland in about 10 years, and I'm worried about missing out on some growth. Is it okay to have such a small buffer with my small spending? Should I not be investing in a brokerage at all and instead just put $10,000 in a 1-year CD or maybe buy bonds? Should I not be playing these tax games at all and just max out a Roth 401k at 12% instead of trying for some elusive 0% tax rate? Is there some other Achilles heel that I'm not seeing here because I'm just letting the tax tail wag the dog? Thanks for your insight as always, Paula and Joe, and happy trails.
This is such an awesome question.
This is so much fun. Oh my God. I love this question.
This is such an awesome question. Thanks for calling this one in.
Yeah. That was fun just to listen to. That was great. On the surface, the numbers, I mean, and I'd run it through some tax software or talk to some tax professionals, but like on the surface, those numbers sound solid.
Sure. I think the big question here is, investing in equities when you're going to do this a short time from now, right? Do I invest in equities knowing that I'm going to be converting this money over a short time frame? I mean, I think that is the key. That's the key question, is how do I invest the money?
Well, I guess I hear two, because there's the question of the immediate short-term question of this 1 year spent hiking. And then there's the 10-year question of the farmland.
Well, and this is the thing, Paula, is that the goal with this particular money is around the 10-year issue. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, even though you're going to convert the money, what you're going to do, Soyman, is you're going to buy a 10-year investment. You're going to sell it to meet the goal. And like you said, with your income being zero, you're going to have minimal to no. I'll give you minimal to no. Just me saying zero, me getting behind that, you are going to need a tax professional to tell you that. But minimal to no tax issue. Right. And then you're just going to buy it back in the Roth. So It truly 100% is a 10-year goal. It's not a 1-year goal. So I don't think you need to buy a CD for that. Now, I am concerned, like you are, Paula, about going hiking and not having that much money liquid. But here's the thing. You're 27 years old.
25.
You're bonus. You went back 2 years. Paula just gave you 2 years that I didn't give you. I apparently prematurely aged you. But you're 25 years old. If you do the rule of 72 on the money that you've already saved toward a normal retirement vision, you're looking great. Yeah. You're looking fantastic. So even if you back that down a little bit over the short run to get more cash in case your spending is higher when you're on your hiking trip than it is now for whatever reason, I would do that. I would do that in a heartbeat. I think the hiking goal, not waiting until you're older to do the fun stuff, makes sense to me.
Yeah, I love that.
I think the fact, though, that you saved and probably worked your ass off to get to this point makes sense to me. It's like you picked your shot. You didn't try to have fun every single day of every single year. You picked a moment, and now you're going to experience that moment. And then I'm guessing then you'll go back to work.
Right. Though, the one thing, stepping out of tax strategy and tax planning and more broadly into 10 years from now when he looks back on this, what will he either be glad he did and or regret? Like, I love the strategy, but broadly, big picture speaking, don't be so hung up on doing everything in the financially optimized way that you undercut or undersell this year that you spend hiking. Like, if you've got to earn a little bit more or realize a little bit more gains in order to adequately
live,
have the year that you want to have, because so much of the time, I did this, when I spent in my 20s, I spent a little over 2 years backpacking, and there were decisions that I made at the time because they were the decisions that saved a little bit of money. Like, for example, when I was in Egypt, it would have cost me probably about $100 to go to Petra in Jordan. And I didn't do it because I didn't want to spend the extra $100. And to this day, I have never been to Petra in Jordan. And I so regret that. And at the time, it would have been $100. Riding the cheapest buses and staying in hostels, like it would have been $100. So that's the thing that I want to warn you again. Don't make that mistake. Like, if for an amount of money that your future self will regard as a rounding error, you can do something that is going to be a core life memory, do it.
I love that everyone who called in today has big goals.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything more that we can tell you. I mean, so the tax, everything that you've outlined tax-wise, on the surface from where Joe and I are sitting, it sounds solid. Again, neither of us are tax professionals, so we don't have the authority to rubber stamp it.
Investing that money like it's 10-year money, I don't think you need a CD.
Yeah, I agree. You don't need a CD. You've got so much flexibility with your plans that I think when the timeline on a particular goal is hard and fixed, like the way that many people regard going to college, for example, they want their kid to go to college at 18. Not that you have to, but some families feel that way. And so because that timeline is so fixed into one very specific year, it forces a more conservative investment approach because there's no flexibility around the timeline. But for you, with buying this farmland, it sounds to me, 10 years is a rough ballpark. You might buy it in 9, 11, 8, 12. I mean, like in the relatively near midterm future, you want to buy this land, but you've got flexibility in the timeline, and that means you can be more aggressive in your investments.
And maybe we should define for a minute why we think you don't need a CD, even though these are going to be two different accounts, because a lot of people don't understand this. This is a question I've gotten throughout my career, Paula, which is that when you get ready to sell the investment that you put the money into before it's going to go into the Roth, you're basing it on the time that you're actually going to spend the dollar. And so if that's a 10-year goal to buy farmland, then invest it as if there's 10 years. Now, when you sell it, let's say that investment is high, you're going to sell it, and immediately within hopefully hours, maybe let's say 2 days, you're going to buy the same exact investment inside of the tax shelter. So unless something huge happens in the little bit of time between those two investments, you're still on the same swing that you were on before. If the swing is high, the swing was high for the first investment. It was also high for the second. It's so funny. I would have people sometimes, Paula, doing this, and they would sell and they go, well, wait a minute, the investment's high right now. Well, you're still in the same investment you were in before. We're not taking the money. We're just changing the tax strategy. Same thing if it's low. They're like, well, should I sell it? It's low. Well, yeah, you want to do this Roth thing. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to buy it back when it's low. So you're selling it and buying it again for the same exact price, which is the danger is that you don't follow through with that because you start second guessing your strategy. You go, well, it's low right now, or well, it's high right now. Well, it's in the middle. We can make up some reason not to do the right thing, whether it's high, low, anywhere. Our brain will come up with 50 reasons why we shouldn't follow through. Don't think about it. Just sell it, buy it, stay in the same investment, give it 10 years. And you know what? With a 10-year time frame, I think you're looking good, which is funny because I had to talk myself into that answer, Paula. Because my initial gut reaction was, oh God, it's funny. Everybody else is worried about all the things going on in the market right now and the chance that we might have problems in 2026. And will there be an AI bubble? And Fidelity now a couple of weeks ago coming out saying, no, we think we're going to be able to smooth out the AI bubble and you're not going to see stocks retreat. And our stocks going to retreat? Are they not going to retreat? What's going on? And Soyman, Mr. Badass here, is like, I'm going to miss out on some gains. And I'm like, whoa, easy, buddy. You're the one person who's not worried about what everybody else is worried about. And then I had to remind myself, this is a 10-year goal. Who cares about an AI bubble? Who cares about what's going on in 2026, January 2026? We want to think about what's happening in January of 2036.
He also asks, should he skip the tax strategies and just focus on maxing out his Roth 401k? No. I mean, Roth 401ks are great. I love them. But you've got a blend of short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals.
100%.
So, don't rob from your short-term or medium-term in order to fund the long-term, especially when you've set yourself up so well already. At a behavioral level, the Achilles heel of being a super saver in your 20s, being quote unquote good with money when you're in your 20s, that sometimes instead of planning for the future, there's a tendency to live in the future, live in the future at the expense of the present. So that's something that I just want you to be mindful of. Plan for the future, yes, but don't live in it.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
If people now phrase things, if they kind of like something, the phrase is, I low-key kind of like it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I low-key kind of like it.
Low-key, yeah.
What's the opposite of that? Because I don't low-key kind of like this.
You high key?
Do I?
You high key like hiking?
I don't know what the opposite is, but I want to know because I want to be one of the cool people. So whatever the opposite is, somebody could tell us what the opposite of a low key kind of like it would be in this.
Yeah. And if you've got time, make it over to Nepal. There's incredible hiking there. Just bring really, really warm boots.
I've done it.
I've
done
right.
it.
Yeah. You were there just recently, like a year ago.
Yes. Did the Marty Himal hike.
Oh.
We got to see Annapurna up close, which was
nice.
Pretty awesome.
I did. The last time I was there, I went, 2 times ago that I was there, I did the Annapurna Base Camp hike.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's higher elevation than we went.
Yeah. That is crazy. To be at 14,000 feet, looking up another 14,000 to the summit.
I was about to tell you that my friend Todd, who went on the trip with us, Paula, said the same thing. He goes, I've been at 14,000 feet a number of times. He feels lucky that he's done that.
Right.
But to be looking up.
Yeah, to be looking up an additional extra 14,000 of vertical ascent while you're already standing at 14.
I think to go to Annapurna Base Camp, I think you took a similar, maybe even part of it was the same trek I took, and you went another day. I think there's one more day.
Yeah. It was 10 days starting in Pokhara, then you go to Poon Hill and then up to ABC from there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. Yeah, I like that. It's funny because friends of mine have done Everest Base Camp, which I heard is pretty. It's beautiful, but I've also heard from everyone I know from Nepal that if you're going to go to Nepal, don't do the Everest hikes. Do the Annapurna National Park hikes.
Yeah, I agree. My dad hiked Everest Base Camp when he was in his younger. When he was in his younger years. When he was in his 60s. When he was in his 60s, he hiked Everest Base Camp.
That's pretty cool, man. When we went, the rhododendrons were out and they were so beautiful.
Oh, that's the national flower of Nepal.
Everything was red. Everything. You go through these groves of flowers, flowering bushes or flowering trees. I don't know if they're bushes or trees, but they were beautiful. And you get up on these ridges and everything, the whole countryside would be red. It was gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah. The rhododendron is the official national flower of Nepal. Fun fact. Anyway, so as you can see from this conversation, we're really excited about the goal. And again, I love the tax strategies. I don't think that you should set aside the tax strategies for the sake of investing in your Roth 401k, because that is setting aside this really cool opportunity to optimize, right? And like, when else will you have an opportunity to do a triple crown? So I would go for that. I also, when it comes to the money that you want in 10 years, if you have flexibility around the date, you don't need CDs or bonds, especially not at this stage. And maybe when we're 3 years out from the date, 4 years out from the date, we can revisit the bond conversation. But 10 years out, you don't need it. You can stick with equities. My biggest concern for you is that I don't want you to shortchange this hiking trip. Give yourself the cash that you need in order to do it the way that you want to do it. Don't do it the way that makes sense. Do it the way that you want to do it, which is another way of saying, let the heart lead and the mind follow. Let the heart lead and the mind execute, not vice versa, which is what people who are good with money in their 20s have a tendency to do the opposite, have a tendency to do what makes sense at the cost of doing what they want. So I encourage you not to do the thing that makes sense.
Avoid that.
All right. Well, thank you for the question. Thanks to everyone who called in today. I think these are 3 amazing questions.
What a powerful financial planning day.
Right? Exactly. We're saving senior dogs and cats. We're traveling the world. We are leaving a W-2 job at the age of 51 in order to pursue something that is much more purposeful.
I love her phrase, the encore career.
Yeah. This is incredible. Like, the stories from the Afforder community are so inspiring. So, Joe, where can people find you? We've done it again. Where can people find you if they'd like to learn more?
You know what? Something I don't talk about, because the Afford Anything show, obviously a very well-produced, thoughtful show. Stacking Benjamin's the same. I have a side project that is something that frankly, Soyman, after you go on your hike, we'd love to maybe have you as a guest. It's called Stacking Adventures. Our mutual friend, Crystal Hammond, and we have a weekly show. It comes out whenever I get to it each week. And we hear stories about travel from regular people. We have maybe 3 or 4 big time travel expert guests a year, but the rest of the time are stories about your travel and my travel. And so we talk about going to the Christmas markets, or Crystal's trip to Barbados, or listeners, Nathan and Catherine's trip to France, or we have been around the world. We've gone, Cosette went to Japan, and we talked to her about her amazing adventure to Japan. So once a week, you can find me when I'm not stacking Benjamins at Stacking Adventures, which is a fun little show that we do because, Paula, I can't stop thinking about travel. It's just super fun.
Aw. Do you have any trips you're looking forward to in 2026, Joe?
I am headed to Alaska this year.
Ooh, when?
We are in September. I will be on a float plane landing in Lake Clark National Park. Mm-hmm. And we have this group tent site on this remote lake. And then we're kayaking and hiking for several days. So yeah, getting another national park. Lake Clark National Park should be a great time. I can't wait to go to Alaska again. The last time I was there, it was just so beautiful. We went to Denali that time. So getting some of these other parks, it was going to be a great time. How about you?
Wow. So I've been to 46 out of the 50 states, but Alaska is one of the 4 that I have never been to.
It was incredible. I would have never gone if my son, Nick, who you know, Nick hadn't done a charity ride from Austin, Texas to Anchorage with a group of University of Texas students. It's called the Texas 4000, another great, by the way, 501c3 organization doing phenomenal work, not just teaching, they're not just raising money for cancer research, but also teaching leadership to a bunch of college students. Really worthwhile organization.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I'm heading to Singapore. At the end of February.
That's fantastic.
I'm going to Singapore. I'll be gone for 2 weeks.
I've only been to the airport, but oh my God, I'd love to go to Singapore. And the food, I can't wait to hear about the food.
Yeah. I've been there once before, but it was, like 12 years ago. So I am looking forward to going back. And the last time I was there, I didn't know anyone there. And this time I've got 2 really good friends who both live there. So
sweet.
And I think that makes a huge difference.
Huge difference. I if I have one request, and you'll have to be on Stacking Adventures telling us about your Singapore adventure. That'll be a super time. If you'll join us, if we can beg you to join us. But the only place that I know of that has Michelin star food stands
is Singapore. Wow. All right. I'll have to find some of those food stands.
Michelin star street food.
Wow. All right. Done and done. All right. Well, thanks to all of you for joining us, being part of this community. This is like family. I love the Afforder community. Happy 2026 to everyone. And as you think through the year ahead, as you set your financial goals for the year ahead, we have a free handout, affordanything.com/financial goals, that you can help you get there. So check that out. And thank you. Thank you for being part of this. Again, affordanything.com/financial goals sort of walks you through the 52 weeks of the year and helps you make some tweaks to your budget so that you can free up a little bit here and there. It's very tactical, but it's our beginning of the year 52-week challenge. So again, affordanything.com/financial goals. Thank you so much for being an Afforder. I'm Paula Pant.
I'm Joe Saul-Sehy.
And we'll meet you in the next episode.